around the time my ancestors were basically telling me to sit down and think about what you want to do.
Welcome to the MeMyddleton Show, a place to encourage neo-spiritualists to laugh, love, and learn, while we virtually walk through topics of the spiritual, magical, natural, and occultic worlds. I am your host, Evina. You have now entered the MeMyddleton Show. Welcome to the MeMyddleton Show. Today's guest is a very special person. We have with us Miss Mikayla Ricks, who is known as the Phoenix, and her name is Pharaoh Kenyon, who is an author. She is a certified End-Of-Life Doula. She is a death doula. Ladies and gentlemen, I ain't never heard my many years of spiritual practice and of all different forms of spiritual practice of both the left and right hand path. I have never heard of a death doula. I heard of a life doula, but a death doula, this is extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Miss Mikayla Ricks. Welcome to the MeMyddleton Show, Mikayla.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell me, Mikayla, why'd you death doula? How you get attracted to that?
The very short, condensed story I can give you is I started this year off having COVID. You know, it's funny because like maybe a month before that, I was like, I need a big change in my life. I asked my ancestors, I was like, I can't be in retail for the rest of my life. I can't be stagnant spiritually anymore. And of course, you know, they deliver. My big message was to sit down and actually think, but I didn't want to do that because I had to work. So I got COVID. And then maybe a month later, I tried to go back to work. I injured my eye. Like I couldn't see out of this eye because of a simple accident. I did this and my nail accidentally caught my eye. So I couldn't go back to work, waited for it to heal, tried to go back. Then I had surgery, couldn't go back to work, and then injured my eye again. It was just one thing after another. And eventually I figured out, I was like, okay, clearly I need to sit down and actually think about what I want to do for the rest of my life. I keep trying to go back to this job that makes me anxious and unhappy, and there's no spiritual fulfillment in it. And so they wanted me to sit down and think about it. Then I came across a death doula on Instagram, and I was like, what in the world is a death doula? I started looking up more about it, and the thing that first got my attention was the most affluent death doula that I know so far. It was a dark-skinned Black woman. And it's like, you know, with medical racism, you most of the medical field is like middle-aged white women, and you know, it just, you never see faces like ours in that field. So I was like, okay, cool. So I just looked more into it. I was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like it was a switch, because throughout the pandemic, I kept thinking, I was like, I want to figure out a way to help some people because there's a lot of death going on. I was like, if I can offer spiritual support or find a way to just be there for these families and help them make sure that all of these sudden deaths aren't as stressful and traumatic as they are, then I want to help. Once I figured out what that was, I was like, okay, I can start, you know, laying down the bricks to this path. What tipped me over and made me like actively search out classes was a few months ago during the summer, there was news about all of those Indigenous children under the residential schools. I don't want to cry, but
it's okay.
There was this event where the local Indigenous community, they went to the residential school that they first found the kids' bodies. They performed this ceremony and they took an entire month on foot to walk their spirits back home. So that just it touched me. I don't know how long I cried, but it was like, oh no, I want to, this is what I want to do. So very shortly after, I found a class, and I just graduated a couple weeks ago. So that's how I got into it.
What a blessing. You know, it's very rare for young people. When I was 25, child, I'm trying to get in the music industry. Being 25, you ain't too long, just got out of high school. And you
Mhm.
know, I went to performing arts school. So my thing, I was still into music, trying to get that thing going. And just as your story illustrates, it's fascinating how fascinating how our ancestors like, no, we trying to get you to go this way. This is your purpose. Let's drop some incidences that happen in their life so that we can get them on the right track, because this here, what they're doing is not it. They're going to be going through some, and life has ups and downs, whichever path it is. Even if you're going completely in the direction of our destiny, there's going to be ups and downs and tragedies and triumphs that's going to happen in our lives. But the way in which these certain maneuvers happen in our lives, it doesn't happen often to many 25-year-olds. It didn't happen for me.
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact that it happened for you, that really, I can't express to you how much that makes me feel so hopeful for your generation and younger, the generations that's going to come after you. The fact that that you guys, you yourself personally, were so in tune quickly to follow what the signals that was given to you to do this. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. I'm really grateful that you followed that. And I really would like to, I need you to email me your date of birth, your time of birth, and your location of birth, like city and state.
You
Cause
need my
I
natal
just,
chart.
yes, yep. Because I want to find out exactly, did she really truly, and Spirit telling me, yeah, she doing it. We got her. She good. But I'm nosy. I just want to see it physically. You're following your life path. I really just, I'm really excited for that. So, what is the job description of an end-of-life doula?
So an end-of-life doula is basically there to empower and support a patient. Either you can be perfectly healthy, you can be on the, on your deathbed, like having a terminal illness or diagnosis, and you just want to basically get all your ducks in order. Um, so what I specifically do is I I help with advanced directives. I help people plan their bedside vigil. Like if they want certain things to happen, especially with LGBT people, you have trans people who don't have accepting family and will, say their wrong pronouns or say their birth name when they don't want their birth name being mentioned, or disrespect their gender. And it's like you want to make sure that they have that respect in death,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically making sure that you have spiritual support as well, because death is traumatic.
Yeah.
No matter how easy it is or how tragic it is, it's traumatic. You're losing somebody in the physical realm, and you're not going to be able to see them again until you pass on. So a lot of people don't ever come to terms with what death is, even though it's our only common birthright across the plane. Like animals, plants, humans, stars, death is our birthright.
Yeah.
So why are we so afraid of it?
Right.
And so I help people reconcile with that, and come to terms with their mortality. And I try to make sure it's not as taboo or as scary as it is in our society.
That's a blessing. You're right. Everything dies. Everything is birthed. Everything dies. And to be, so is that kind of like a chaplain?
Kind of, sort of. Chaplains, as far as I know, they have a specific religious association. They're usually affiliated with some sort of religion, but I don't. It's not something that I feel suits me. If
So
that
are
makes
you
sense.
like a chameleon if or are you malleable to different clients from from religion to religion or spirituality to spirituality? Are you able to, I don't want to use the word perform, but kind of help them based off of their chosen
Yeah.
religion?
So what I do is I just meet them where they're at. If they're questioning religion because they're dying, I meet them there. If they're a devout Muslim, I meet them there. I respect them and I learn their customs. If they're a devout Christian or a Catholic, I learn their customs. It's I can basically cater to whatever my client needs. And I don't, it's, to me, it's unethical to
Right.
push my own religion onto somebody else, to try to convert them before they're dying. I hate that. I've always hated that. So I try to meet people where they're at.
What is your religion, if you have one?
I don't necessarily have one. I'm just I'm focused on the spiritual aspect more than like any type of organized religion. I believe there's a source, like there's a spirit, and that different cultures have different ways of interpreting the same thing. And it comes out in different ways because all religions have similar stories. There's always a flood, there's always a beginning, there's always someone to make the water, someone to make the land. And it's all it after reading so much, you see similarities and everything, and it's like, okay, what if they're all describing one thing in the only lens that they know, you
That's
know?
exactly what's happening. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Describing the one same thing through their own perspective, through their own different lenses. It's exactly correct. Continuing on, you published a book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
That book was my spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Because, well, 18 to like 22 is like a big transition phase
Mm-hmm.
for everybody. And I was in a very different place from where I am now. I was traumatized. I was angry. I was not, I wasn't being taken care of like I should have by anyone around me or myself. And it weighed on my spirit. And like around 2017, I decided to, kind of dip my feet into spiritual. I just wanted to dip my feet into it, okay? But I very quickly found out you can't just dip your feet into spirit.
Nope.
You're either in it or you're not.
You're in or out. It either is or it ain't. Yeah, I'm glad you realized that.
And I had this best friend um, that I would have done anything for. Like she was, I felt like she was my soulmate. But looking back on it, I was very dependent on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I latched onto her. And
Mm-hmm.
I do admit that. I have to admit that I latched onto her because she was the closest thing to comfort for me. But then, New Year's resolutions, 28, I was like, you know what? In 2018, I'm cutting off manipulative people. I'm cutting off bystanders. I'm cutting off liars, just anyone that wasn't good for me. Because
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of done with the whole high school behavior of the people around me. So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't make me feel good anymore. And a few months later, you know, my spirit guides worked to make sure I didn't have anything in my life that would hinder me. And unfortunately, that included her. And there's this, I can't remember if I put it in the book or not, or if I put it on a blog post, but I wrote something like everything I've ever let go of has claw marks in it. And that whole situation was me digging into it and trying not to let it go, even though I knew it would happen. Like I knew, you know how with certain situations you can tell what's going to happen, but you try to stop it at all costs, but it only furthers what's supposed to happen.
Like the inevitable is going to happen, but the pain of it is going to be even greater because you was creating that by hanging on to it.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And I, you know, coupled with a whole bunch of other stress, like with my family at the time, I just couldn't take it because I felt myself losing someone that was really important to me. I felt myself losing people that were important to me. So I ended up in a mental hospital because I was just at rock bottom. And like maybe a month later, not even that long, we just stopped being friends. Like we had this huge argument, we had this huge shouting match, and we just never spoke again. And in order to get my pain from that out, I had to write it down. And I think I finished that book in like 5 months, maybe. It wasn't that long at all.
No, that's wow.
Yeah. So I wrote down my feelings, and there's this chapter at the end of the book. The very last chapter is basically me purging myself of all of those negative energies, all of those negative emotions that I was feeling. Excuse me. And it wasn't something I had done yet. It was just me trying to manifest me getting over this situation or learning something from this situation and being purged from it and coming out as a new person. So I released that in 2018. And since then, I have just been no more dipping my feet into it. I went head first into my spirituality, and it's worked out for me so far. I found out who I am, and I'm still finding out who I am. I've been doing a ton of shadow work.
I was just going to ask you about shadow work. Yes.
Shadow work is like my specialty. I feel like that's the main reason I can be a death doula, because I'm able to ask the hard questions about someone's soul and try to get them to a place where they can understand it and then move on from there.
Wow. You made me want to make you my new best friend. Okay, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, congratulations. You're just such an amazing person, and I'm really grateful to speak with you here, see how your mind works, see your journey, and even at such a young age, the amount of experiences that you have that brought you here to this point. What are you going to do now with your certification as an End-Of-Life Doula?
Right now, I want to focus on Black and Indigenous communities because, you know, not main, but like one of the main reasons I feel drives me is patient advocacy, because, you know, those two communities experience the most medical racism, and people don't listen to us when we say we need help or we're in pain, or they just don't listen to us a lot because of those stereotypes that we can't feel as much pain, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a whole story about how gynecology started, but but it's something I want to do because I don't like it that we're so ignored in 2021. Especially we were just in a pandemic. And we're still in the pandemic.
Still in it.
Yeah. And with, you know, the new variant coming up, I just see a whole bunch of people feeling like, oh my God, this is just going to be March 2020 again. I can't go through this again. And I want to help in any way I can, whether that's spiritual support or actually making sure that they have their end of life plans sorted just in case the inevitable not inevitable, but just in case, someone catches COVID and is at a chance of dying like I was. I want to make sure, everything is sorted so that the family can have an easier time and they can have an easier time.
Good for you. I'm really happy to hear that. I think with the medical disparities and the medical discrimination against people of color, especially women of color.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first heard about it, I was watching a video by Dr. Joy DeGruy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with her. If not, check her out. She speaks about post-traumatic slave disorder.
Uh-huh.
And she was doing a whole presentation about where these discriminations birth, how it came to be, and how doctors were doing all kind of experiments on us as women.
Mm-hmm.
And we're screaming in pain, but they're saying, oh, we don't feel pain, and all of this other lies.
Yeah.
And how they classify Negroids versus the other two oids of this world, the Caucasoids and the Mongoloids. And to see a brown woman like yourself doing this, thank you. Like, really, thank you. It takes a very special person to do this type of work. Are you new to tarot and want to learn more? Or have you been using tarot but find it difficult to understand and translate the meaning of each card and their positions? Interested in getting a formal look into the world of tarot? Now is your opportunity to get to know Tarot 101. Sign up now to discover the simplest way to internalize your tarot. Sign up now by going to www.helpbyevina.com/virtual-workshops. The first class starts January 24th, so hurry and sign up now. Well, what about you, Mikayla? How familiar are you with the world of tarot?
Okay, so I started learning tarot maybe September 2020. And around the time my ancestors were basically telling me to sit down and think about what you want to do, I spent my time learning tarot. And then I found out my Death Doula course. The school that I used was International Doula Life Movement. The teacher is Anna Adams. One day I was like, I need to raise money so I can buy her course because it was a few $100s and it was at a discount. So I was like, okay, so what can I do while I'm not working and then I heard my tarot cards calling me. I immediately, I asked the question and I immediately looked, I was like, oh, okay. So I basically spent that entire time like raising money through tarot. It was like donation based. So people gave me whatever they felt like they could. Sometimes I got 15, sometimes someone felt generous and gave me 75. Sometimes, it was good for what I needed it to be. And then something told me like, yes, someone in my head, one of my ancestors was like, email the teacher. Email the teacher, because something told me the price on the website was a little higher than I would actually need it for. So I just emailed her. I was like, hey, do you have any scholarships or discounts available? I wasn't really expecting a reply until like maybe 2 days later. She emailed me back in like 15 minutes. She was like, yeah, I can dock it down like maybe $200. What? So this $500 course, I only had to pay $300. And she let me, because I wasn't working, I didn't really have much saved up. So she was like, I can just put you on a 3-month plan. You only have to pay me $50 every 2 weeks.
Wow. Your
What?
ancestors were on it, doggone it.
Yeah.
Lord.
That's how I knew I was like going in the right direction. I was like, now that was too easy. I was like, that was too easy.
Wow.
And so I got like maybe halfway into the course. It's a very general course. It tells you the basics of what you need. But halfway into the course, I was like, I'm going to end up teaching my own course in a few years. Like I felt it, I felt it. So in a few years, maybe less than that, if I come out with my own course, it's here first.
So with the MeMyddleton fans, you're hearing it first. So when she come out with her own course, y'all need to sign up and support Miss Mikayla. So I have a question as far as like your divination tool. You started speaking about tarot. So do you utilize, or do you have plans to utilize any other divination tool? Like a pendulum, maybe?
I have a pendulum. Yeah.
Look at you.
I use pendulums. I use tarot. I forgot the specific name of it, but I use books and sacred texts to
bibliography, but bibliomancy.
Yes. So I use that too, because books, they because I'm a writer, it just helps. And sometimes when I need to do shadow work, I use my own book. I use my own book, and I'm like, okay, where am I right now? Sometimes if I'm feeling depressed, it'll go to a poem of mine that I wrote when I was really depressed. And I was like, okay, I need to fix that. And then sometimes I'm at the end of the chapter and I pick one of the ones where it's like, okay, I am coming more into myself. And so I take that as a good sign that I'm on the right path. So stuff like that.
Check you out. So any other so you do bibliomancy, pendulum, tarot, any other divination tool?
I'm trying to learn astrology, but I was very bad at math, so calculating stuff is a bit hard. Like I can learn the basics of Western astrology, but then there's sidereal astrology, there's Vedic astrology. There's so much to choose from. So I'm trying to figure out. I don't want to say dip my feet into it because we saw how that was last time.
You're right.
But I'm very slowly learning the different types of astrology, and I'm trying to figure out which one works best for me.
So I want to, if I can make a suggestion to you, there's this brother who I've known for many years. His name is Coach Oyi Sun, Oyisun. Oyi Sun, 2 different words. And he offers, of course, and been doing this for a couple of decades now. He teaches Keep It Simple Astrology. You can look that up, Keep It Simple Astrology. And you'll see his name and, check out taking his courses. Because astrology used to intimidate me. And I had a best friend. She was deep into astrology. But when she was trying to teach me, I ended up hearing, are you familiar with the Charlie Brown cartoons when the adults talk, how they do the wah, 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 wah? That's what I ended up hearing. So it'll go off being, Aries is in the first house, and then wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, Lord, this is hard. And I want to learn it, but when I got to him, trust me, if I can catch on the way he's teaching, it'll be very simple for you to catch on as well. You will love it.
Yeah, have you been hearing people talk about the US's Pluto return?
Lord.
It's everywhere I look.
The way Pluto is going to affect the planet, all of these things have been written. The way the journey of this planet and the energies out of other stars and celestial bodies affect this planet is making it now to where Earth is going to start separating.
Yeah.
Not a physical two Earth, but it's going to end up being a two Earth, and it's not like separating side by side. It's more like one up and one down.
Yeah.
And you're either your vibrational frequency is gonna either be high enough to go up to the higher Earth, or you're gonna be stuck with the lower Earth. Pick a
Yeah.
team, and pick a team fast, and do what's needed within your body to stay on said team.
Yeah. I feel like that's why my generation in particular, there's been a surge in people going away from traditional religion and like going into spirituality specifically, because I think we're more finely tuned into it. I won't say more finely tuned into it, but it's like we see what organized religion tried to keep us from.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us are going back to our roots, or we're deciding to just find our own way. And I hear people joke about the fact that World War III is going to be a spiritual war instead of a physical one, but I'm like, I mean, we joke about it, but is it that far off?
Well, the spiritual war ain't stopped. It's been going on. So that's the thing, been going on.
Yeah.
And that's also the reason why I created the MeMyddleton Show. These different portals that has been opening up, and it's a sequence of events of different portals opening up throughout time. And when these portals open up, or the gateways open up, these energies overflow, falling into Earth, and they're either hitting the star seeds or the light bringers. Is either going to hit us in our head, and we're awakened to those ideas, or they're going into our wombs and we're giving birth to people like you, and then when y'all start giving birth and making children, just imagine, because y'all some different kind of folks. Let me tell you, being a mother and a grandmother, y'all some different type of folks. It's nothing like how we were as children, or the children before us, like our parents and grandparents. And I've sat down and spoke with my grandmother, who was born in 1900 something, like 06 or 08, one of them two, and to tell me about her childhood, how it was then. And my father, who was born in 1927, so that's almost 100 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
to understand what was going on during his childhood, and like when World War II came about, and all of this stuff here, and what life was like, just regular life and childhood. And then listening to my mom and her childhood, listening to my older cousins who was born like in the 50s and 60s, and then thinking about my childhood, because I was born in the 70s, and being a child of the 70s and 80s, and then looking at my child who was born in the 90s, and looking at my grandchildren. I got a grandbaby who's 6 years old, and just looking at these various, with the music, with the fashion, with the everyday social behaviors. Y'all some different folks. It's significantly different from my parents and grandparents and us. A little bit of the same. There's some evolution happening where we're different, but there, boom, y'all folks is on a different level. So I know I got your links and everything, but would you please let everybody know how we could reach out to you if we want your services?
So I have a website right now. It's pharaohblacksheep.card.co. You can find me on Instagram at pharaohblacksheep, and you can find me on Twitter at fieldbones. And I also have a YouTube channel I'm planning right now. So I'll let you know.
Oh, yay. Please keep me posted so I can share your YouTube and everything. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Mikayla Ricks, aka Pharaoh Kenyon. Thank you so much for being on the show and telling us all about End-Of-Life Doula. And thank you so much for your work.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being my first interview.
My absolute pleasure. Wasn't that fun? Did you learn anything? Did this episode stir up any questions, comments, or concerns? Send them over to MeMyddleton@gmail.com or leave a message on our website at www.helpbyevina.com, and I'll be more than happy to respond. Check out our bonus content by becoming a patron. There are 4 different patron tiers to choose from. This is to help upgrade our equipment. So, don't miss out on exclusive episodes and wonderful rewards for your patronage. If you're on Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcast, Amazon, or any other favorite podcasting platform, make sure you like The MeMyddleton Show and leave a comment. Tell us how much you love the show, what you don't like about it, how we can improve, and how we can be challenged. If you're listening to The MeMyddleton Show on YouTube, make sure you comment, like, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell to be the first to get the newest episode. And remember, proper prior planning perfectly promotes persistent productivity and proud, pristine performances. Now, get out there and perform. Until next time.